Will Derek Carr be able to change the narrative surrounding him and the New Orleans Saints? And could they get a win this weekend against the Colts? We're going to talk about that right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Vogel, and as always, we're brought to you by Scott Fickner, Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, hurt offshore, Scott Fickner handles it all. You give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. Now, joining me on this edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast is probably one of the funniest guys you'll find on Saints Twitter today, tomorrow, any day in the future. Jono Barnes. Jono, my man, it's been a long time coming. How you doing on this? What is it, Thursday? How you doing on this Thursday?
I feel like crap. I mean, you've seen the last two games. I feel like crap.
Fair enough. Now, so we'll start off with whoever you want.
Hey, man, hold on. Like Chris, shout out to Scott Fickner. I heard you say that he fights for wins and injuries and stuff. Is he able to help the Saints right now? Can he go to the Saints? I mean,
I would hope so. I'll tell you this, every single post-game recap, when I do my read and I talk about them fighting for the win, then I always have to follow it up saying the Saints did not fight for the win today, and it's become a habit. 4 out of the last 5 games they'll lost. You talk about feeling like crap. So who's most responsible? Derek Carr, Dennis Allen, Pete Carmichael, is a little mix of all three. Who's responsible for Jono feeling like crap on this Thursday?
I'm going to go with plan D, and that's Mickey Loomis, because he saw, Chris, what this BS was last year, right? Like, as much as I can get mad at Pete and Dennis and even Carr, I mean, he got benched in Las Vegas for a reason. They've shown you who you are. When somebody shows you who you are, believe them. Mickey saw what this team was last year. He saw what a Dennis Allen head coach team looks like, and he decided to double down. And he doubled down. And don't get me wrong, I'm really hoping that Derek Carr turns the corner, but I can only go by the data in his past, not only 7 games with the Saints, but even going back to last year with the Raiders. It's like you see what the script is, so you can't be shocked when you see what the ending is. Like, we know what the spoiler of the script was, and yet we, as a franchise, double down on it, starting with Mickey Loomis, who's the de facto owner of the Saints, because Gail's just in the skybox looking pretty, signing checks and rubbing elbows with all her friends and colleagues and whatnot. So I blame Mickey Loomis, and I'm very mad at him. And if you go on my YouTube channel, you see my reaction videos and my shows the past few weeks, I've said, as much crap as I've given Dennis Allen since last year on my show, I'm going to now turn my attention to Mickey Loomis, because he's the one who doubled down on it, right? Like, Dennis Allen could be like, well, shoot, y'all know who I am. I showed y'all who I am. Don't get mad at me. Mickey is the one who's making the call, so I am very, very upset, and I blame Mickey Loomis the most.
That's a damn good take, and I think that's becoming probably, I don't want to say the consensus, because there's still a lot of people, including myself, who probably fire off about 20 negative tweets about Dennis Allen every weekend, but it's definitely something to talk about in terms of doubling down on this team. So I would say, I can't say for certain about you, Jono. I know you are, and you had a good tweet about it earlier today. I think you're talking about pessimism, optimism, things of that nature as a fan. I'm one of those kind of people, and I guess I'll classify them as idiots who thought this team was going to win double-digit games, and now at 3-4, I'm like, I'm not feeling so good about them going 10-7. Where's the optimism radar for you now on a scale 1 to 10 going into week 8? Are we like completely off the rails, like this season's over, or do you feel like there is still time to turn it around?
I'm going to be honest. I actually do have a little bit of blame that should go to you, that should go to Ross Jackson, that should go to the Boo Crew Media crew, that should go to Nick Underhill, Ryan Walker, Jeff Duncan, Kat Turner. All of you guys were hyping up the Saints, okay? It wasn't just you. It was all of you guys who fell for it as well, and y'all got us hyped. I'm just a fan. Yes, I have my own little mini brand and channel, but I'm a fan just like everybody. I know you're just a fan too, but you have a platform, Chris. So you need to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, what did I do wrong? And why did I get myself hyped up again over Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael team? And it's very funny, Chris. I wish I would have pulled this tweet up before we went on the show. You had actually put a funny tweet out in December when Derek Carr got benched, and you said, okay, Saints fans, you know what's going to come, right? And so then I sent you a very, very crappy Photoshop of Derek Carr and Dennis Allen wearing Saints gear. And we both kind of had a mini conversation where we were like, good Lord, do we not want this to happen? And then Derek Carr signs with us, and what me and you were doing? Hell yeah, we got Derek Carr. It's all good enough because he's wearing our team laundry, right? I even did a skit on it that actually kind of did some good numbers because it just shows the hypocrisy of Saints fans and fans in general. Like, once a player puts on your team's colors, suddenly you see it through rose-colored glasses, and you're like, oh, well, you know what? Maybe he wasn't at fault in Las Vegas, and maybe he's going to turn the corner now, and maybe things are going to be good. So don't just get mad at yourself. Chris, you and a long line of Saints media are to blame, along with me. I know I have a platform as well, and I'm getting everybody hyped up. This shit more than a game, right? And granted, this shit is more than a game, but it could be a negative. This shit more than a game too, as the franchise and the front office is about to find out if we keep doubling and soon tripling down on this BS that we have. Am I optimistic? I'm only optimistic the same way I was last year, is because the division is so bad yet again that it keeps giving you that stupid, silly amount of hope that you're like, well, okay, if we can string together 3 wins and you look at our schedule and the next 3 opponents and you're like, well, the Colts and the Vikings and the Barons are on world beaters, so maybe we can pull out wins, and then we'll probably be right there at the top of the NFC South having a shot to fight for the division crown in December. But on the same side, I have that small part of me that's like, I really hope one of these non-Saints teams, and I would hate for it to be the Falcons, but if it's got to be, you got to make a deal with the devil for us to get rid of this goddamn Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael regime. I'm kind of okay with just flaming out so that we can be done with this, man, and we can finally start anew. Because if we do win a division at 7 or 8 wins, maybe 9, if things go really well, it's a shame that 9 wins is like the peak of what we think the Saints can be. Do we really want to do this another year? Like, do we know Mickey Loomis is going to keep Dennis Allen, and maybe Pete's going to be the fall guy no matter what, but do we, I'm saying me and you and the fans all watching, do we want to do this a 3rd year with Dennis Allen?
Yeah, I'm going to go with probably no. I'll say this. There's like 2 factors to it. I want one or the other. Like, I want this team to get clarity and be like, all right, he's just not the guy, we got to move on. Or if they're going to figure this out, I want them to figure it out on the fly so well that people are like quote tweeting and sending my tweets from October to like freezing cold takes of me saying, fire Dennis Allen. You'll never win anything under Dennis Allen. I've tweeted that an awful lot the past couple of weeks. I don't want, to your point, like they go 8-9, win an NFC South that stinks. And they're like, well, we can't fire him. We made the playoffs. And then you're just right back to where you were this season. That would probably make me sick. But you mentioned the Derek Carr thing, looking back at stuff. And this actually is just the epitome of how bad this season's been so far. I remember after week 1, he makes that throw to Rashid Shaheed, ices the game. I did a little breakdown on it. I put it on TikTok. I was like, oh, and people said that Derek Carr wasn't better than Andy Dalton. I haven't posted anything on TikTok in weeks, and I saw I had a bunch of notifications. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I check. Everyone's like, oh, are you sure about that take? And I'm like, God damn it. Like, I got to eat my own words now because he's been worse than Andy Dalton was last year. So I guess we'll see. I'll put this for Derek Carr because I really want to get into what you've been doing and talk about that because I find it so freaking awesome. There is time, obviously, for him to turn it around. But I would go as far to say I've never seen maybe a Saints player of this caliber lose the fan base that quickly. I feel like Thursday, in terms of not just a loss to the Jaguars, kind of the screaming with Olave and all that, I just from getting the pulse of Saints Twitter, and I always say this, I feel like I can not do it better than most, but I have a good understanding because I'm on Twitter often enough. I see where people's heads at, and then I hear everyone and read their comments after, and I'm like, all right, he could have a great game Sunday. Saints could win. I'm not so sure that would get him in the good graces of everyone. That's kind of where he's at, in my opinion. I don't know if you feel the same way, though, about Derek. Like, if he has a 300-yard game, 3 touchdowns, they win on Sunday, does that change anything, or do you think Saints Twitter is still going to be like, man, fuck this guy?
I mean, we're fans, so obviously everybody's going to be excited. I would say on my logical side of fanaticism, I need to see it the same way. If I'm viewing it the same way for Dennis Allen, like, yes, a win Sunday. We're fans. We're going to be happy. We're excited, right? We only get 17 games guaranteed a year. So I want to cherish everyone and enjoy when we do win. But I need to see it consistently, right? Like, I need to see Carr do it week to week to week. 1 week is great. I mean, we look good against the Patriots technically, but we look good against the Raiders, ironically, with Eric Carr playing like crap last year too. I want to see a stretch of 2 to 3 games where we actually, like you said, it's not that we're like stumbling and bumbling into our wins. Like, we're actually looking like a competent team. I'm not trying to say we got to look like the goddamn Kansas City Chiefs at this point anymore. Like, we know what our ceiling is, but if we can look competent for 3 weeks, and that includes Carr and Dennis and Pete Carmichael's play calls, then I will be okay. Maybe, I'm getting a little bit excited. Maybe you guys actually have turned the corner. Maybe you guys are actually putting action into your words. 1 win is not going to do it for me. I've seen enough of that last year and even now this year where you look good 1 win, 1 week, and then the next week it was back, roller coaster, up, down, up, down. They said it's the Jameis coaster. No, now it's just called the regular Saints coaster. We're up 1 week, we're down 1 week. I need to see consistency from this regime and from Carr before I get super hyped again about, this team is actually going to be a possible threat in January. And right now, I don't see it, and the data does not support that it's going to happen. Even if we win Sunday, I'm going to need to see it against Chicago. I'm going to need to see it against Minnesota before I start getting hyped up and waving this shit more than a game towel.
I totally agree. Amen to that. So let's get into what you got going on. So far this season, we've seen you take a shower fully clothed during the end of the Packers game. We've had the angry drive back from the Houston road trip, which, God, I don't blame you after all those red zone failures.
Spent over $1,000 for that game, Chris.
So I have to ask you, I don't need to know. You don't need to give us the secret as to whether or not when you make something, you got an idea, in your head, man, this thing's going to hit. But I am curious, how quick are you on your feet in terms of, all right, I know what I'm going to do next. I know what my next plan is. Like, how quick does this materialize for you in your head?
Well, everybody always calls it skits, and I don't see why people think that it's skits. It's documentation footage. It's a document. It's a documentary. Like it's real deal, Chris. This is my life. This is what my wife records it because our marriage therapist encouraged her to, and also encouraged her to put it out there on social media so I can become publicly shamed and hoping that would change my actions. Now, it hasn't worked yet, but this is real deal footage, man. This isn't anything that I think of, Chris. This isn't anything that, me and her meet at a table and say, this is what we're going to do this week. No, this is real deal. This is my life, man. My life is hell. My wife's life is hell. But she got to understand, Chris, this shit more than a game, bro. Like, I don't just say that to sell t-shirts, man. It's become a great brand, absolutely. But this shit is really more than a game. Look at Saints Twitter right now. You see what's going on in Saints Twitter land? We're going at Chase Daniel. Chase Daniel is a Saints legend, in my opinion. One, because of all the money he's made for only throwing like 80 passes in his career. I mean, God bless that man for securing the bag multiple times. But two, man, that man is a Super Bowl champion, and we're going at his neck because he's saying that Derek Carr isn't fully to blame. You know why I was so emotional right now? Because this shit more than a game, man. So when you see my footage, no, it's not skits, folks. It's real deal Holyfield. This is my life. And this shit more than a game.
I feel like that answered my question. I think it's just instant for you, just in terms of how quick you are on your feet. But you mentioned
all right, Chris, all right. I'll peel it back a little bit.
No.
Let me know. I'll peel it back a little bit. These are situations that I take with my content, but I just exaggerated to the extreme, correct? So like after the Packers game, I was like, man, I just want to take a shower. Hey, let's have fun with this. I'll take a goddamn shower before they closed it because the Saints made us feel that miserable after that game, right? The Houston drive literally wasn't quite like, I'm going to the game. And I knew what the team was at that point, but I'm still excited. Oh, man, it's the Texans. We're probably going to pull this out. Remember the great old time. The ride back. Hey, my wife, let's actually have fun with that idea. My last video this past week, we went to Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, and I found myself on the beach, literally watching your show on Saints Twitter, getting my rants off, watching the game film again, trying to see, was it Olave's fault for running that route wrong, or was it Derek Carr's fault for even throwing the pass? And my wife's like, can you just enjoy the beach for a little bit? Light bulb, hey, let's kind of have fun with that right quick. So I take real life situations and I just extremize it. That's not a word I know, but I exaggerate it to the tenfold to make it comedy, and comedy is subjective. I know not everybody likes or thinks my stuff is funny, but to make it funny to people. And I think the thing that clicks with it is that it's relatable. Like, people watch my stuff and they see themselves in me and my wife, and they see like, oh yeah, that's exactly how I felt, or that's exactly how my wife feels when I go full fanatic mode. So it's a little bit of both, Chris. Like it's legitimately real life stuff that we take, but it's also, me having to be a little bit creative with making it presentable and funny so that when I present it to the greatest fan base of all time, they can hopefully get a laugh out of it, because Lord knows these teams in Louisiana, we need some laughs,
If we're not going to get a W, we better get some laughs. And we've been getting it. So I noticed, man, I don't know the exact date it started. You probably know better than I would. But when did you notice that Buccaneers fans are like so thirsty for attention? Because I know years ago, I'm going to take the blame, not you. I think I jinxed the Saints by doing a collab with you we did like a caller thing in, and then I felt like the Saints went on like a 5-game losing streak after that. So
that's when it all really fell down. So again, I blame you, Chris. I blame you the most out of everything. I blame you.
And that was the Sean Payton era still. That was his last season. So I'm going to take the blame for that.
And that's when he probably said, you know what? And he probably watched that skit and say, it's time for me to retire.
Yeah, you see this.
It's a lot, Chris. It's all your fault.
So when did you notice that Buccaneers fans were like begging for attention? Because I've never seen a fan base tweet at an opposing team's biggest, maybe one of their funniest fans, more than you get if the Bucs play the Saints. Like, they're coming after you nonstop. And I know part of it's in love, part of it's they're looking for the clicks and all that, and I don't blame them for it. It's fine. But when did that happen? Was that a Tom Brady thing? Did you quickly catch on? Because even now that they got Baker Mayfield, I saw after the Saints lost in what was it, week 4. Man, Bucs fans are like immediately coming after you. I was like,
Oh yeah,
still
yeah, no, and and actually, I do not mind that. Like, I'm not naive, Chris. I'm not going to be screaming this shit more than the game, yada yada. Talking junk and whatnot, and not expecting it to get thrown back in my face if we lose. I mean, ironically, I wrote a tweet, and it wasn't even trying to like get the Packers Twitter fans' attention, but I wrote a tweet just saying I really want to beat them because their fan base always is going that taste. Some of them always are naive to think that Alexander is better than Lattimore. Somehow it made its way to Packers Twitter, and so suddenly now they all are coming at me. And I was, Chris, you know me enough now for the past 3 years. Like, oh, if you want to dance with the devil, I'm willing to dance with you. So I'm like, okay, now I'll put my troll hat on. I'll show you guys a good time. So I went back at the Packers fans. And, that game makes me mad because we was up 17-0. I was ready. I was like, I'm about to have a record day in T-shirt sales because we're going to go 3-0. Call it actually competent. Kamara's coming back against the Bucs next week. Saints Twitter and Saints fandom, everybody's going to be in a great mood. It's going to be rosy times. And then Carr went down, and then everything went to shit. Groupie misses the field goal. Suddenly, 100 plus, I kid you not, 100 plus people in my mentions from the Green Bay just like giving me a new one. And I'm like, man, literally, you guys wouldn't have said a goddamn thing if Carr didn't get hurt. It just shows you how quick, right, these things can happen. So on to the Bucs fan base. That is actually years in the making. So if you go on my Twitter profile, I've been on Twitter since 2009. I was one of the OG Twitter people. I just didn't get a platform until 2021. It's when I really took the leap of faith, if you want to call it, and put myself out there as a public figure / content creator. But I've been talking trash to these opposing fans since 2009. And Bucs fans have always been, especially during that amazing run we had from 2017 to 2020, a fan base that I noticed was just always chirping at us. And I'm like, dude, why is this fan base like so hateful of us? Like, we don't even care about you guys. We care about the Falcons. I say that in loose terms when I say care about the Falcons, but that's our rival. Like, why is this fan base always at us? So thankfully, when I had my platform in 2021, I finally had an audience to like have fun with that. And I put out the skit where I showed how Saints fans don't give a god dang flying about the Bucs. Of course, they discovered it. Now they have fun with it. I will give Bucs fans this. They seem to kind of, the general consensus gets what I'm doing and has fun with it. But a lot of truth is said in jest. And that fan base is a bit obsessed with us, even though we have like no ill. They won the Super Bowl and Pat by beating us and retiring Drew Brees. And we still don't hate them as much as we hate the Falcons. And I'm like, you guys are never going to be our rival. But going back to what I said about the Packers fan base, when I see that a fan base wants to dance with the devil, I'm willing to be the devil and play with them. So I'm going to be trolling them for the rest of my life. They whooped our butts this season, Chris. Like, it looked like they were playing a different sport than us in that game 4 weeks ago. And I'm still going to troll them in week 16 or whatever. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm willing to be the bad guy. I ain't willing to put my neck out there, knowing that Dennis Allen is my head coach, knowing that Pete Carmichael is the offensive coordinator, knowing that Derek Carr is my quarterback. And I'm going to continue to do it till the day I die. And you know why, Chris? Because it's shit more than a game. I'm telling you, I live it. I breathe it. This was organic, folks. Like, this was not something that I sat back and brainstormed and said, what creative slogan can I do to, sell shirts or become a rally cry? Like, ironically, I said it in a Pelican skit that I did. And the first time I said it, Chris, I said it's more than a damn game. And then people were actually like saying it in the chat, in the comments of me, oh, you right, it is more than a game. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is like a general consensus of how New Orleans fans and Louisiana fans in general feel. Like, down here, man, it's more than a game. So the second Pelican skit I did, it was during our our playoff run against the Suns. I said this shit more than a game. Organic. And since then it's taken off. The fans fat off of that. And so as much as I am the avatar, I guess, of the brand, and I use it as trash talk, I use it as a rally cry, I use it now to rant and rave about why we take this so serious and why we're so emotional and so pissed off at the Saints right now. It's a brand for the fans as well. Like, it's for the fans and by the fans. And I genuinely and humbly mean that. And I'm not surprised that it's taken off to where it has, but I'm also extremely grateful that all of the fans have supported me in this venture that I'm doing, and definitely carrying this shit more than a game spirit, win or lose. And we're going to continue to carry it, Chris, win or lose. To Bucs fans, to Packers fans, to Falcons fans, to the damn Colts fans, to any fan base that wants to dance with us, trust me, we're New Orleans. We're second line with you guys all the time.
Absolutely. And by the way, might I add, and I'll share the link after we're all done with this. So if people haven't gotten their shirts yet, make sure to get it. That shirt's damn soft, man. I don't know if you knew which company you wanted to go with before you ended up making the final decision. But when I got mine, I tried mine on. I just left it on the entire day. I was like, oh my God, I'm like, this shit's so soft, man. Although it is more than a game, shit's also soft. So
and
I don't know if that
I don't want to turn this to too much of a love fest, but I remember you actually wore it for the first time on camera on your birthday, and that meant the world to me, Chris. So all jokes aside, man, thank you for the support that you've shown me. I was so happy to see you just rocking the shirt because of what your platform is, and what you've built, man. Like to see someone like you wearing my stuff and supporting me, I was like, damn, man, that's pretty awesome. That's one of those moments where you're like, I've done something pretty special here, and so I appreciate you, Chris. And yes, I kid you not, I don't do anything half-assed, Chris, and I take pride in that. Like when I decided to finally do my merch, like it wasn't something where I was like, I'm gonna just throw a JPEG together, throw it on a shirt, blind ship it out to people. No, me and my wife, God bless my wife, obviously she's the real MVP of my content. Like we really put in months of sample shirts and like did our homework, went to stores and felt the fabrics of the brands that the company that I went with offered. Ordered samples, played with designs, played with logos. Like I wanted to put out a product that I felt that fans were going to be genuinely able to wear with pride, but to wear with comfort and to wear like it's a high quality product. I see a lot of people just putting out shirts these days, Chris, and they just throw a JPEG together as a square image and stuff. More power to them. I take pride in my stuff, and I want my stuff to be a little bit, high quality when you know that you're dealing with John Barnes this shit more than the game LLC now. So we actually did our homework with that, and that actually is a great compliment that you say that the shirt is comfortable and that you feel the quality of it compared to other stuff that you might also purchase.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you said we're not gonna get too much into a love fest here. So what won't be a love fest will be this Sunday, Saints Colts. We got some good news though, I will say, and I know we don't get a lot of good news, but it does seem like Juwan Johnson and Ryan Ramczyk will be back. The Ramczyk part should be good news, although he has been pretty disappointing so far this season, at least when I've been rewatching the games, and it's been brutal. You see that he's not playing at all-pro form anymore. But either way, you get two starters back in the lineup. Playing a Colts team that, honestly, this is why records are different sometimes. 3-4 for Saints fans. We're all sitting here going, wow, this season's a disappointment. It's not looking good. If you're a Colts fan, you told them 3-4, Anthony Richardson will be out for the year. They look pretty fun, and they've also played some damn good football. And I know we shouldn't be mentioning because we know all about getting jobbed by refs. But they got screwed last week against the Browns. They very much should be 4-3. But either way, looking into this game, I know fans don't want to hear it, but it's the truth of the matter as I look at this one. Gardner Minshew, as fun as he is, and you got the whole Minshew mania thing going, if you look at his numbers against Dennis Allen defenses, it's atrocious. I shared it yesterday. His last in 2 games against Dennis Allen's defense, he's got 1 touchdown, 2 picks. He's completing like less than 60% of his passes. It's just been all downhill for him when he plays that defense. So I'd expect the Saints defense to step up. But it leads us to the question of whether or not their offense is going to step up. And it better, and this is the only 2 numbers I need to know that if it doesn't work on Sunday, we'll once again be firing up those tweets about making changes to the staff. Last 2 opponents to play the Colts defense, 39 points scored by the Browns, which are led by P.J. Walker because they're dealing with their own issue with Deshaun Watson and his terrible contract. And then the Jaguars, 37 points. And yet, I got the feeling we're probably going to say, can they score us 20 on Sunday? What's kind of your gut feeling so far going into this Colts Saints game?
I've seen Gardner Minshew's stats and his performances against the 2 times he's faced a Dennis Allen defense. And because of that, I actually do have the Saints winning. Now, I'm not going to be shocked if we lose, knowing how this era, ERROR, has gone. But I do think that our defense seems to be the same way Jalen Hurts is like a kryptonite to the Saints defense. I think Dennis Allen's defense is a kryptonite to Gardner Minshew, and I believe that we will. Especially, man, Chris, it's one of those things like in the side because we've had like 3 come to Jesus meetings as a team already. So when you have to have that many come to Jesus meetings as a team, you're obviously not a good team, in my opinion. But we seem like we've had to have another come to Jesus meeting with receivers and Carr this week, and everybody's saying, okay, we got to step up. I feel like this is a game that they're going to come in motivated and actually play well enough to win the game. But all that said, again, it's not going to make me think that everything's cured and that, okay, we're about to go on a run. No, I need to see it consistently week to week. But as far as Sunday, I think that our defense is too much of a kryptonite that I do not see Minshew having the same success that he had last week. I think he comes back down to earth a little bit. I do think we win, and I think it's it's a perfect representation of the Dennis Allen era. Like we have this easy schedule so far, and we're going to be 500 coming out to the mid-season break, and it just shows how that just to me beautifully explains, or it would explain how the Dennis Allen era has gone. You know, like you got the schedule where you should be 6-2, and you're going to be 4-4 or 3-5. Whoop-de-doo, right? Like, yay, who that?
Yeah, you know what? I will say though, the Gardner Minshew struggles versus Dennis Allen, I think is perfect for this Saints team in the sense of this. It's probably going to be one of those games. Defense steps up. I'd imagine they're going to do the same. And then we're going to get our answer. Would 10 days be enough time for Pete Carmichael to prep? And also 10 days be enough time? Or you mentioned kind of those meetings. I love that you threw Jesus in there. I know you're going with the casual phrase, but it's just even funnier knowing how Derek Carr is with his preaching and all that. So just it kind of blends in perfectly. But between them having these player meetings, between having 10 days to kind of prepare, Dennis Allen yet again coming to the podium and going, "Oh, we're not making any changes," because he thought them going no huddle and making a comeback that still ended up in a loss was impressive. I kind of disagreed, but that's his decision. It will once again kind of confirm something for us if they do either fall short or if they barely win with it just being a defensive struggle. I mean, an offensive struggle, where this is kind of who the Saints are going to be under Dennis Allen. And then it will bring back to a point that you mentioned before, even if they win Sunday, which I actually do agree with you. I do think they win Sunday. I think the defense is going to step up, and I think they'll get just enough from the offense. But can then you beat Chicago and figure it out? Because you've heard it, I've heard it. Everyone talks about the schedule. But I keep telling everyone, if the Saints continue to play the way they're playing, they're going to be that team on opposing team schedule where they go, all right, that's pretty favorable.
Not going to be. I mean, Chris, we are. Like, the Colts fans are looking at this game saying, oh, we're about to be 4-4. We're turning things around, even though Anthony Richardson is out because we play the Saints. The Bears are like, oh, we got the Saints on the schedule. We're definitely going to win. The Vikings fans are feeling good after they beat the 49ers. They're like, man, look at our schedule. We got the Saints in 2 weeks. That's going to be a win right there. It's not going to be. Fans are absolutely. I even tweeted that because I tweeted Saturday. I was like, dang, we're getting the Colts without Anthony Richardson. We're probably going to get the Bears without Justin Fields, even though I saw a report the other day saying that he's determined to play against our defense. I don't know why. Our defense is actually good. Justin, that one might be want to be one you sit out. And we still might get the Vikings without Jefferson. So I was like, yeah, that looks winnable. And I said it in a pessimistic tone. I was like, I'm sure Dennis Allen is going to screw it up. But then I had time to think about it. And then I watched the Sunday games, and I was like, well, dang, the Vikings won this week, the Colts won this week, and the Bears won this week. Those teams are looking at us now and saying, yeah, we got the Saints on our schedule. That's going to be an easy win. So you're right. It's like we're looking at the schedule and we're saying, oh, well, the schedule looks favorable. But those same opponents are looking at us and saying, yeah, boy, that Saints matchup, that's a good one for us.
I knew fandom is a curse when the Saints beat the Patriots, and I saw on Twitter leading up to Saints Texans at the time, the Saints are 3-2. So you're thinking if they beat the Texans, you're 4-2 heading into that Thursday night game. You're starting to feel good. And I saw some Texans fans tweeting about their schedule, and they're chalking down, like immediately putting the Saints game down as a win and talking about it's going to be easy. I'm like, if Texans fans are seeing this, and I remember the Texans were in the gutter just a year ago. I'm like, yeah. God damn, it's looking pretty
amazing
tough.
What a good coach and a quarterback can do, huh?
I know, and we're sitting here with 18-42 overall record as the coach. And then the guy who, shout out to Ryan and Adam when they were talking about it on their podcast, they said, and they admit they fell into it too, because I know I fell into the trap, so I have nothing to hide from. I got to just be accountable. We saw a quarterback not past the 50-yard line in the Superdome last year, and the Saints were like, all right, that is our guy. And that's just kind of where they're at right now. And
I'm putting this up. I'm literally going to put up the tweet, Chris, and I'm going to send it to you. What me and you talked about, and I sent you that bad Photoshop, and you were like dead set. You were like, I do not want Carr. And then in March or whatever, you were like, yeah, we got Carr. And then, but though, Chris, that is kind of like what I utilize in my skits. Like my skits are meant to make fun of fanaticism. Like, and it's a fun. I mean, look, it's just a game, but the shit more than a game, right? So I have fun with it. Like I take the craziness and the hypocrisy of fanaticism, and it's not just Saints fans; it's every fan base of all sports. And like suddenly one semi-positive thing happens, and you just completely go against everything that you were originally saying or ran about, and now you're back into full fanatic. Oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. Oh, we're going to be a playoff team. Yada yada yada. So that is a perfect comment what you said about how fanaticism works, because that is exactly the foundation of my brand and my content and my skits. Is that I just take the fun of fanaticism and I kind of make it. It's almost like, again, it's relatable. Like you see yourself in these skits and you're like, yeah, man, that's what fandom did to me. It made me once again believe and Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael, even though last year we were all saying we need to get rid of these guys. And then by April, we were like, the Saints might be a threat in January. You never know. Any given Sunday, once we make the playoffs, it might be a great NFC championship type season. Fanaticism, bro. You got to love it.
My dumbass spent December and January. I kid you not, because I had a talk with people at Bucher, and I'm like, man, I don't know how many more weeks I could do with the 2022 season of me just like starting off my podcast going, they need to fire Dennis Allen. They need to fire Dennis Allen. And then, like July hits and I start getting some training camp clips sent to my phone. They're like, oh, put this up, this and that. And I'm like, I think the Saints might go 11-6. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Now I look back and I'm like, I'm such a dumbass. But anyway, before we wrap up, I want to get into some fan comments, just a couple if we have any. So if you have any questions, thoughts, drop them in. Before we do that, I also want to get a quick word from one of our sponsors, DraftKings Sportsbook.
NBA fans, the wait is over. Basketball's back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is celebrating with an unbeatable offer. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for throwing down $5 on the NBA. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. You'll start the season with an instant dub. Basketball's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BOOT. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly for betting just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT. The crown is yours.
Big time sponsors, huh? I ain't even got no sponsors yet, Chris. Jeez.
That's on brands. They are absolutely missing out. Hopefully by the end of the year, if we can't get W's, you better get some sponsors. So I'm gonna throw this one to you. So we got this comment here from Wesley. Said the healing collab we needed. How optimistic are you the Saints can go on a 4-0, 3-1 type of run before the final stretch of the season?
I kind of feel like we got into that a few minutes ago. Not optimistic at all. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Not at all. Now, if we go 3-1 or 4-0, man, you're gonna see me on Twitter waving the flag, being the king of the bandwagon. But I'm not optimistic at all, Chris. I don't know how you feel about it, but my optimistic level was at a negative 2.83%.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in the same. I keep. I felt this way before Monday, but then after the Vikings won, it like kind of solidified it. I felt like even if they beat the Colts, it seems like an L will happen against Minnesota. And then there's so much pending on the Chicago game, which is like the prime letdown game for Dennis Allen. So I have no idea. I really have no idea. And who knows, maybe Justin Fields comes back and rushes for like 100 yards and then I'm in misery. So I think for me, I'm just going to go with a no. Maybe 2-2 during that stretch. I really feel like they're just going to be teetering around 500 the rest of the season, which is probably the worst spot to be in because the division's not going to get pulled away, which means you're going to sit there going, should we keep Dennis Allen? Should we not? And obviously that's tough. I got another comment from Wesley, and we kind of talked about this, and I'm actually going to add something to what he said. He said Saints need to start winning games or it's going to tear Saints Twitter apart. When Saints Twitter is beefing the way Saints Twitter's been beefing the last like 2 weeks, does it at all change the way you post anything? Do you ever go like, I don't know if I should post it right now because people are riled up, or are you just gunning for it regardless of whatever?
No. I stay in my lane. I post what I post. I don't pick sides, anything. I am a very peace, love, and happiness type of guy, I guess. I don't know, Chris. I guess when me and you ever start beefing on Saints Twitter, that's when that's the real sign that things are getting toxic. If me and you ever beef, but y'all see, as long as me and Chris are good, folks, everything else on Saints Twitter is just noise. I stay in my lane, Chris. Now I will say this: I do know that like after gut-wrenching losses and whatnot, sometimes fans may not be as receptive to a skit or whatnot. So I know that not every skit is going to do huge numbers or be like a huge success, if you want to call it that. But I have my goals and objectives in my mind, and I kind of, everybody's going to have everything that they want to say or whatnot, but I kind of just stay in my lane. And if you like it, I appreciate it. If you don't, mute me.
I respect that. And then I'm going to go to this one. We'll end it on this because I think it actually kind of ties in perfectly with where we started. You were talking about Mickey Loomis. So Tramal said, Jeff Ireland should replace Mickey and Kai Harley should handle the salary cap. So I'm going to turn this to you and say this. All right, if they move on from Mickey Loomis, because obviously he's not willing to make a change, Saints got to figure something out here. Do you want them to clear out house completely, or would you be cool with this option where they keep some of the in-house guys? Because I will say it's weird about the Saints. It's not like it's all bad. Like there's talent on the roster.
Right.
You want them to blow up this entire thing, and we have so many fresh faces in that we're spending, February to September going over their roster, their coaching staff, their personnel online until we got everyone's face and name, memorized to a T? Or would you be cool with them kind of handing over someone else that's already in the building?
And the funny thing is, as much as I'm on Mickey's ass, I agree with the method. Like, I'm okay with him not having to want to tear everything down after Drew and Sean left. I'm just mad at the who he gave the keys to. I'm not mad at the why. I'm mad at the who. He gave the keys to Dennis Allen, and then he doubled down on it. That's what I'm mad at. So I'm even willing to give Mickey another shot at picking a new head coach. And folks should know that Mickey's not going anywhere. I mean, he's in Benson's will. Gal, he's essentially the de facto owner of the team, which is why I'm shocked at Sean Payne, because Sean Payne was essentially like a part-time owner too. Like, they had the keys to the kingdom. Gal is very hands-off, so Mickey is that guy, and I don't think Mickey's ever going to go anywhere until he retires. And when he does retire, I absolutely would be okay with Kai Hartley having a shot at it, because I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and think that he's going to put his own vision together. He's obviously going to have some traits that he takes from Mickey Loomis, but I'm willing to bet that he's going to have his own vision, and he's done such a masterful job with the cap, and he's put in the work, obviously, this past decade with, earning his stripes as a co-general manager or whatever his actual official title is, that I'm okay with him getting a shot at having the keys and building a team to his fruition. And transparently, I think it would be cool to have a black GM. So I'm okay with Kai Hartley being the next heir apparent to Mickey Loomis when he retires, though, because Mickey Loomis, folks, is never getting fired. And I've accepted that. I'm okay with that. I'm not saying myself that we need to fire Mickey Loomis, but I do think Mickey needs to start feeling some heat for this product and regime that we have had to deal with for the past 2 seasons.
That is well said. So before we close, I'm going to pull up
hold on, Chris. Can I ask you? I have 2 questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I want to give you an option right quick. So option A is the Saints make the playoffs, but we keep the regime. So we keep Pete and Dennis. Option B is we flame out, but the Falcons win the division in week 17 in the Superdome and celebrate on our turf. Which one would you rather have?
Now, if we flame out, we get a new regime?
Yes, but the trade-off is you got to watch the damn Atlanta Falcons celebrate on our turf as being the NFC South champions.
I think as much as that stinks, I might take that for one reason. I think the Falcons would absolutely just destroy it in the first playoff game, which is that's my only argument to the whole them making the playoffs thing for even the Saints is like, okay, let's say the Saints make the playoffs. They probably draw Dallas first round, which, by the way, there'd be nothing better than getting the playoffs and knocking Dallas out. Like, that would just be a dream in itself. Yeah. But the confidence level probably isn't that high in that actually happening, where I'm like, I don't know if it's worth you get another year of Dennis Allen again, and then we're back in the same category, which I'm contradicting myself because I always tell people I don't root for the Saints to lose, and I don't.
I get it.
But
I did a poll last week, and it was like 81% that everybody was saying, no, we didn't want the Saints to make the playoffs because we were ready for a change. I go back and forth just like you, Chris. It's like on one part of me, especially on game days, like on game days, as much as even I try to chill to be like, man, just lose so we can get rid of this. Like that fanaticism in you comes out, you're like, I want to win this game, man. Hell with that. This shit more than the game. I want to see my boys win. And of course, man, if we do, even with the playoffs are 8 and 9, like, come wild card weekend, we're going to be excited, right? Like, it is what it is. That's how fanaticism works. But damn, man, it's like, do we want to just keep going in this circle of mediocrity and purgatory and honestly irrelevancy? Like, outside of the Louisiana market, man, right now the Saints are one of the most irrelevant teams, and I hate that. Like, if you're going to be bad, but entertaining where you can still be relevant. Like, we're a boring, bad team, and do I want to do that another year? But I think I actually, even on this day, still would say yes if it meant not letting those damn Falcons celebrate. But I don't know. I go back and forth. If it meant that means the Falcons would actually double down on Desmond Ridder and give him a big contract, I'll take that sacrifice, I think. And be like, you know what, Falcons, y'all go win it. We'll catch y'all in 2025, I guess. But we'll see. Second question. Man, you have interviewed some amazing, noteworthy. You're a very humble man, but you've interviewed the Drew Breeses, Eli Mannings, people from all sports. Chris, where does Jonah Barnes rank, and why is it number 1 now on your list?
Okay, well, why do you rank number 1? I would say A, just being authentic. B, ability to actually give just really nice, long-winded, but energetic answers. And the reason I say that is, don't get me wrong, I love my job, but there's sometimes I get some long answers and I'm going back and I'm transcribing and I'm like, I don't know if this person was reading off a paper or not while they're giving it to me because it just felt like so formulaic. So yeah, I would say the energy that matters to me. I actually had another interview this morning and it was at 8 a.m. with a college football player. And I'm going to myself, man, if this kid at 8 a.m. and I know he's got to be tired as all hell is giving me energy. Why the hell is, the pro at 3 p.m. in the afternoon? He's just like, man, I don't want to do this shit. And I won't say who the pros that don't want to do it, but it does go that way. But for you, easily number one. It's not a question. We've been talking about this for years now to get this done. We should probably do this more consistently, if I'm being quite honest. It'd probably help us. It'd be kind of our way of football therapy.
It depends. We gotta see how the next 3 games go. Now, if we completely reverse what we did in 2021 and now we go on a win streak, then you'll be back in my good graces and we'll do more collaborations and partnerships. But
what if they lose 3 in a row, though? Then Dennis Allen might be out. And I'm not saying I wanted to lose 3 in a row, but either way.
Maybe me and you are working, we're playing the long game. We know what we're doing with this interview today, Chris. We knew what happened last time when we did this in 2021. We're trying to help Saints fans out. You see, Saints fans, y'all owe me and Chris our flowers if things have changed come December and January. We and Chris know what we're doing, man.
But by the way, you added the just like the fanatic part of, you say right now you might want them to lose them when the game kicks in, it changes. I tweeted during the Jaguars game when they were getting their ass kicked, and I'm like, you know what? The Saints needed this ass kicking, I tweeted. And then they started making their comeback in the fourth quarter. And I shit you not, you go back to my Twitter. I tweeted, now go win the fucking game. I tweeted. I was like, what changed?
No, Chris, this is why we get along, man. Because I tweeted something similar. Like I was going off on the Saints too on my YouTube and on Twitter, like just ranting, raving, and killing them. Then we make the comeback. And I'm like, hell yeah. My wife was like, dude, you would just spend the past 2 hours saying everything needs to blow up. And now you're saying, let's go win this game. It's shit more than the game, man, folks. That's exactly what it's shit more than the game is all about. Chris, one thing I'm trying to get adjusted to. Another third question, I promise it'll be done after this because I don't want to go too long.
Yeah.
Man, like, I see your tweets. I follow you, of course, and I follow, and I love getting your insight during games, just your raw reaction. That's why I think you are such a popular figure in Saints Twitter. And just in general, it's because like you say what the fans are feeling and you're not afraid to be, a fan and, not sugarcoat it or anything. So, but like all your tweets, man, it's like numbers. You are getting like 100, 200, 300 retweets and comments and stuff. Like when I first started, I was like, I want to reply to everybody who comments on my stuff, to not let them think that I'm just like discarding them. But it gets hard during games, huh? Like, you just got all these people in your mentions and your engagement and notifications are going up and you're trying to manage that while watching the game, while getting ready for your show on YouTube and whatnot. How do you manage it? Are you able to actually read all the stuff? Or are you at the point now where you're like, look, I'll see the ones that I see and God bless the ones that I miss, but I can't just keep up with all this because I've built such an amazing platform that, I can't unfortunately follow or listen to what every fan is venting or saying to me.
No, that's a great question. I would say this. So for people I follow, I make sure that it alerts me back that they replied because I don't ever want to miss out if someone that I follow, because if I follow someone, that means I genuinely, as long as it's not news related, if it's news related, I'm following just to get news. It's not like I endorse that person. But if I'm following Saints fan, it's because I like interacting with them for the most part. That's why I'm following them back. So like if they reply to me, I usually reply. And then for me, it depends. Some tweets, I don't really like the ones that really blow up. If it gets like close to 1,000 or over 1,000, I don't get to see every comment truthfully. But the ones that are always in the hundreds or the 200s, I always see the quote tweets for the most part. And I try to reply to them if they're really sassy, because then I have to throw some sass back. B, if it's a genuine reply, because then I'm like, okay, let me interact with this person. Then maybe, in a game or two, I see that I'm interacting with them again. And then all of a sudden, that's another person that may want to kind of engage with you on game days. And I kind of like having that camaraderie. And then 3, if it is someone, even if I don't like the reply, but it's someone that I've seen before, I respect their opinion, I'm always going to reply back. But it depends. I'll say this, when the Saints game ends and I finish, my pod, whatever, let's say it's a Thursday night game, I got to turn my phone like upside down, face down to make sure that the light's just not flashing nonstop, or else like I can't get any sleep. And it's happened sometimes. Like there are so the Saints game ends against the Jaguars. I went to bed at 2 a.m. and then I woke up at like 7 and I was like, why the hell do I do this myself? And then I look back, I finished my pod at like 1, and then from 1 to 2, I'm sitting there replying to everyone. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe sometimes I should just take my foot off the gas. But if I miss something, it's because I genuinely miss it. It's not because I'm ignoring someone, if that kind of answers it.
All right, so that's why I'm assuming that's why you never respond to my tweets. I'm joking, folks. Chris is awesome. I pray for your wife. You sound just like me, dude, with the phone going off and you're up till 2 a.m. and you're doing your content and stuff. It's an exciting world we live in, but it's definitely, something that you got to be dedicated to, man. So I appreciate it and I love everything that you're doing, Chris. I can't wait to have you on my channel now, and I can actually ask you a full, I know this is supposed to be my interview, so I'm sorry for turning this into Chris Raz Gazlu interview, but the real ones remember that skit. But I definitely would love to pick your mind on my channel because you built an amazing platform, man. You are the embodiment, and you are definitely this shit more than the game certified.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So before we go, just let everyone know where they can follow you. Also, someone said congrats on 6K, which is damn awesome. So congrats on that.
Jerry.
And then so where they can follow you and what you got coming up, whether it's this weekend or what you think you might have coming up in terms of the plan. I know you've been doing live streams too, so let people know where they can find that. So
at John O'Barnes on every platform, Twitter or X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, at John O'Barnes. If you want a shirt, multiple color schemes, is www. I made it real simple for folks. This shit more than the game.com for the low price, Chris, $28.03. Also, what I have coming up, so I'm dedicated like every game this year, you're going to get a skit. I keep saying skit. You're washing off on me, Chris. You're going to get documentation footage of my reaction to the games, as well as on my YouTube channel this year. I made a commitment to myself, inspired by people like Chris, to do my own little live streams every Tuesday or Wednesday where we talk Saints football. It's actually been doing really good as far as momentum. So if you guys go on my YouTube, and as my man Jerry just said, I went over 6K this week, which is a great feeling. Thank you to everybody who subscribes to me. And if you don't subscribe, what are you waiting for? And so every Tuesday or Wednesday, we get together, we talk Saints football. I'm going to have Chris on one week, and definitely I'm enjoying doing that. And it's been real fun to just kind of like build the show together and, further this shit more than the game brand. So if people just follow me on all my platforms at John O'Barnes, they're going to get great weekly content. And as you know, Chris, I am very dedicated to what I've been doing the past 2 years. And it's because of people like you and your support and your cosign, essentially. And it's because of the people in the chat who have been showing me love and watching all of my content for the past 3 years. So the train don't stop, baby. Win or lose, we're going to keep on going. And you know why, right, Chris?
This shit more than a game.
Bam!
That's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you so much, Jonah, for coming on, guys. Saints, Colts, this Sunday, whenever the game's over, we'll have an immediate post-game recap for you on Boo Crew Media's YouTube page, so make sure to subscribe. And as always, stay tuned for more content here on the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation. Have a good Thursday night, everyone.